Okay, let's get into this. I want you to, just for a second, picture the ultimate survival nightmare.
Hmm.
You're stranded, completely alone, you're building your own shelter, catching your own food, living in, total silence for decades.
You're thinking Castaway. That's the image that comes to mind. Tom Hanks, a volleyball.
Exactly. Tom Hanks in the middle of the Pacific. But here's the twist in the sources we have today, and it's a huge one.
Okay.
The island we're talking about. It's like 3 acres wide. It's in the middle of a river in Alabama.
Right.
And this is the part that will drive you crazy. You are 50 feet away from the shoreline.
50 feet. That's, I mean, for everyone listening, that is less than a bowling lane.
Yeah.
You could throw a rock and hit the mainland. You could shout and someone would hear you.
You would think so. And yet, the subject of our deep dive today, a man named Mike Thornton, spent 40 years on that little patch of dirt.
Wow.
He went to a keg party in 1988 and didn't come back until January 2025.
The time capsule man. That's what the press is calling him.
It is, but honestly, that nickname barely even scratches the surface of how bizarre this whole thing is.
I agree completely. This isn't just a survival story. It's a psychological thriller, a comedy of errors, and a huge linguistic mystery all rolled into one.
Right.
We really have two big questions here. First, just the logistics. How does a person disappear in plain sight?
Yeah.
With boats passing him every single day for 4 decades.
That's the first one. But the second mystery, that's the one that really got me, is what the sociologists in the articles are calling temporal dialect incompatibility.
Right, the academic term.
Mm-hmm.
See, when Mike was rescued, the problem wasn't that he'd forgotten English. It was that his English frozen in, like 1988 teenager slang, was totally unintelligible to the Gen Z kids who found him.
He was speaking a dead language.
Pretty much.
It was like he was speaking Latin, if Latin was made up of Pauly Shore quotes and fast food commercials.
That's a perfect way to put it. So today, that's our mission. We're going to unpack this whole thing, the comedy of errors that kept him there, how he survived, and this fascinating time capsule of a man whose mind is perfectly preserved in 1988.
Let's do it. Let's rewind the tape. We have to go back to where it all started, June 18th, 1988. Set the scene for us.
Okay, so the setting is the Coosa River near the Chilton-Coosa County line in Alabama. It's a high school graduation party.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to remember the context. This is before the internet, before cell phones. If you weren't physically there, you were unreachable.
And the reports mention the specific refreshments at this party. It just screams 1988.
Oh, absolutely. Not craft beer, no. The coolers were full of Bartles and James wine coolers.
The glass bottles.
Glass bottles and Milwaukee's best. Mike Thornton is 18, a high school senior. And by all accounts, he really overdid it.
The tale as old as time. But this is where the story just veers off into a 40-year ordeal.
Right. Mike passes out. A friend, who the reports just call Rick, suggests a prank.
Oh.
The plan was, simple. Leave Mike on the island to sleep it off. They'd come back for him in the morning.
Rick, a huge mistake, buddy.
A catastrophic one. So they all leave in their boats. But the next morning, June 19th, the friends wake up, and they are just catastrophically hungover.
Right.
And in that haze, the group dynamic just fails. Everyone assumes someone else handled it.
It's that diffusion of responsibility. I thought you got him. No, I thought you were going to get him.
Exactly. And by Monday, when they're all sober, they just figure he must have gotten a ride home with someone else. They create a version of reality that's easier to believe.
Now, from our perspective today, everyone listening is thinking, where were his parents? Why didn't they track his phone?
You have to shed that modern bias. There was no Find My Friends, no GPS. And tragically, the report says Mike had a huge fight with his parents the day before the party.
So when he doesn't come home,
they assume he's just cooling off at a friend's house. By the time they file a missing persons report, the trail is completely cold. Everyone thinks he just ran away.
It is the perfect storm. And all the while, he's 50 feet away. Which brings us to the most frustrating part of this. Why didn't he just leave?
Because of one huge fundamental limitation.
What's that?
Mike Thornton cannot swim.
But it's 50 feet. I feel like you could doggy paddle that.
Not if you have a genuine phobia of deep water and not with a river current. To him, that 50 feet of water wasn't a short distance. It was a wall. He was completely landlocked.
So he wakes up that Sunday morning.
Yeah, around noon, he walks to the shore. His first thought, he said, was, whoa, this is totally not cool. He expects them to come back any minute. He waits an hour. then a day.
Then a week.
Then weeks turned into months, and months turned into permanent camping.
So how did he do it? 40 years with nothing. No tools, no matches.
Just pure improvisation. He built a shelter he called his crib, another 80s term he held onto out of branches and stuff. For food, he'd make little nets out of old fishing line he found snagged in the trees.
And I saw the medical report. His diet for 40 years was just raw fish and river water. That's it.
Which is medically incredible. I mean, he was severely malnourished, of course.
Yeah.
But his cardiovascular health was surprisingly good. No processed sugar, no carbs.
But the psychological part, that's what gets me. You mentioned the waving phenomenon. This is where it gets really weird.
It's the most tragic irony of the whole story. Mike was on the shore every single day. Right? And this river is a recreational area. Boats go by all the time.
So he'd wave at them.
He would wave his arms, trying to signal that he was in distress.
He's in boaters?
They waved back.
Of course they did.
Every single time.
Because if you're on a jet ski and you see a guy on an island waving, you don't think castaway. You think, oh, friendly fisherman, and you wave back.
Exactly. And this happened thousands of times.
Mm.
But this is where the human mind does something amazing to protect itself.
What's that?
He eventually stopped seeing it as a failed rescue. He reframed the whole thing. He told his rescuer he just decided that waiting was the vibe on the river and that everyone was just being excellent to each other.
Wow. That's a powerful coping mechanism. He basically gaslit himself into believing he wasn't being ignored.
It's called cognitive dissonance reduction.
Mm-hmm.
If he accepts they're ignoring him, he falls into despair.
Mm.
If he frames it as a positive social thing, he keeps his sanity.
And he kept up his appearance for this imaginary social club. He was still wearing the remains of his members-only jacket when they found him.
Which he refuses to throw away.
Why?
He told a nurse he assumes it's vintage now.
I mean, he's not wrong about that. Okay, let's fast forward. January 2025, the rescue. This is where it goes from castaway into a full-on culture clash.
It starts with 5 Auburn University students on a kayaking trip. They see smoke from the island.
Right. They're moving slow enough to actually investigate, unlike
Right.
the speedboats.
They paddle up. They see this man with a crazy long beard in a tattered 80s jacket. And this is where we have the communication failure that one of the students, Jacob Chen, recorded on his phone.
Okay, I have the transcript right here. So Jacob asks, hey, bro, you good? You need us to call someone.
Standard, modern, clear.
And Mike's response is, radical. You guys are totally tubular.
So put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
You hear totally tubular from a wild-looking man on an island. Your first thought is not time traveler.
No, your first thought is stroke. Jacob literally asks, sir, are you having a stroke?
Which just confuses Mike. He yells back, that's bogus, dude. This is like totally bitchin'.
The cultural gap is just getting wider. Then another student, Madison, asks if they should call 911.
And Mike yells the phrase that nearly got him into real trouble.
What did he say?
Where's the beef?
Oh, no.
To him, that's just a funny thing to yell from a 1984 Wendy's commercial. But Madison is 20. She's also a vegan. She takes it literally.
She thinks he's demanding meat from them. She says, sir, we don't have any beef. We're vegan.
And Mike, now totally frustrated, yells, gag me with a spoon.
And that's where they get scared.
They think it's a specific violent threat.
Right.
To an 80s kid, it means I'm disgusted. To them, it sounds like he's describing a torture method.
It gets worse, right?
He then tries Otho Shizzle, which is a bit anachronistic, but okay. But then he hits them with the classic, talk to the hand.
And the students.
They just stared at his hand. Literally, they thought he was hallucinating that his hand could speak. The idiom was completely gone.
It was the technology that finally broke through. Jacob holds up an iPhone.
And Mike just stares at it. He asks if it's a Walkman.
Wow.
And when Jacob asks, what's a Walkman? That was the moment. The look on Mike's face, he realized he wasn't just lost in space. He was lost in time.
That's when he asks the big question.
Is Max Headroom still on TV?
That's the one. Madison asks how long he's been there, and he says, since the kegger. Like last month, maybe.
Time is totally weird, is what he said. In isolation, without a calendar, 40 years just compressed. It's a known phenomenon called temporal compression.
So they get him in the kayak, and they realize they need a translator.
They need an elder.
Enter Patricia Gigi Henderson, the grandmother of one of the students. She's the hero of this story.
Gigi is 76. She raised teenagers in the 80s. She speaks the language. She hears Mike say, gag me with a spoon, and she doesn't hear a threat. She hears a teenager.
So she starts speaking to him in code, asks him, who shot JR?
And the report says Mike almost started crying with relief. Finally, someone who understood. Gigi became the bridge.
And once they get him to a hospital and start explaining the modern world, The culture shock really kicks in. They gave him a PlayStation 5.
He played for 4 hours straight. But the thing that amazed him wasn't the graphics.
What was it?
It was that he didn't need quarters. He kept saying, it just keeps going. He comes from an arcade economy. The idea of infinite play was mind-blowing.
But the biggest shocks weren't the tech, they were history.
Yeah, catching up on 40 years of world events in a week.
Yeah.
He missed the end of the Cold War. His reaction was, apparently we won. That's awesome.
He missed 9/11, he missed COVID.
He thought COVID was a sci-fi movie he hadn't seen yet.
But the presidency, that was the one that really got him.
When they were listing the presidents, they got to Donald Trump. And Mike just paused and asked, wait, the guy from Home Alone 2?
That must have been a long conversation.
The notes say it required extensive explanation.
Let's talk about his psychological state. You'd think he'd be broken, but the experts say he's remarkably upbeat.
He is. The sociologist on the case calls him a time capsule of mental health. He only speaks in positive slang, stoked, bitchin' gnarly. He didn't fall into despair because, well, he didn't know what he was missing.
Ignorance wasn't just bliss, it was a survival strategy.
He just framed the whole thing as a gnarly situation that was handleable. He never saw himself as a victim, just a guy on a really long camping trip.
We have to mention the local theories, though. Because this story is so weird, people have come up with some creative explanations.
Oh, the conspiracy theories are amazing. There's a local guy, Randy Pickett, who is convinced Mike was part of a Chinese genetics lab experiment involving something called dire poodles.
Dire poodles.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But he's very serious about it. Then you have a local pastor who believes Mike was blessed because he missed the abomination of possum yoga.
Possum yoga. Okay, that's a whole other deep dive.
Right. Thankfully, the scientific consensus is much simpler. No demons, no poodles, just human error and alcohol.
So what happens to Mike now? He's legally dead.
It's a bureaucratic nightmare. No social security number, no driver's license. He's living with Gigi, his translator, for now. His social worker said he needs about 10,000 hours of explanation about how the world works.
But his priorities are so simple. I love this. Number 1 on his list, eat pizza.
And Taco Bell. And a massive amount of cheeseburgers. He has a lot of fast food to catch up on.
His third priority, keep the members-only jacket.
It's his security blanket. It's the last piece of his old life.
What about the friends, though? Rick and the others. Are they in legal trouble?
It's a real gray area. The deputy is looking into abandonment charges, but can you really charge someone for a dumb prank that happened 36 years ago when they were drunk teenagers?
Right. It's just so tragic. No one meant for it to happen, but they stole 40 years of his life.
They did. But what's amazing is Mike's attitude. He isn't angry. He's just stoked to be back. He's not looking for revenge. He's looking for what's next.
So what's the big takeaway from all this?
For me, it's about how fragile our connections are.
Yeah.
We think we're so connected now, but a man fell through the cracks just 50 feet from shore because everyone just forgot.
It really makes you think about the bubble we all live in. Mike was waving at the world for 40 years, and the world just waved back, thinking he was fine. It makes you wonder, who are we waving at today? Who's signaling for help right in front of us, but we're just misinterpreting it as them being friendly?
That's the question, isn't it? We see what we expect to see. The boaters saw a happy camper. They didn't see a prisoner. Maybe we need to stop assuming and look a little closer.
Absolutely. Maybe don't just wave back next time. Maybe stop the boat.
Especially if they're yelling about beef. That's usually a sign something's wrong.
That's a wrap for this deep dive into the time capsule of Mike Thornton. Stay curious, stay observant, and please, if you go to an island party, make sure you have a ride home.
And learn how to swim.
That too. We'll see you next time.